We want our feet together. We're going to flex our knees to 90 degrees. And then what we want to do from here is we're going to go into dorsiflexion of ankles by pointing the toes toward our head, eversion of ankles by pointing the soles of our feet away from each other. And then we want to drive our knees down toward the ground. For this one, we want our heels almost... Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Steven here with Team Euphoric, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to be your own therapist by demonstrating the top 5 ELDOA exercises for posture correction. And more specifically, I'm going to be teaching you how to correct a posterior pelvic tilt. Before I actually get on with the exercises, I want to quickly recap what exactly a posterior pelvic tilt is and why exactly you should care. A posterior pelvic tilt, or a retroversion of the pelvis, is when your pelvis is tilted posteriorly. Ideally for men, anywhere from 4 to 7 degrees of anteversion or an anterior pelvic tilt is going to be acceptable, and for women, anywhere from 7 to 11 degrees is going to be considered acceptable. Whenever it falls below that range, that is when it is going to be dysfunctional, and if you don't address it, it can lead to things like low back pain, hip pain, knee pain, ankle pain, and foot pain, so you would want to address it immediately. And one of the ways in which we could address this would be to do some strengthening exercises for the muscles that are responsible for anteversion or anteriorly tilting the pelvis. We ended up doing those a few days ago. I'm going to include a link right up over here to the top 5 strengthening exercises for posture correction to correct the posterior pelvic tilt. But in that video, we ended up doing some strengthening exercises for the psoas major, the rectus femoris, the adductor longus, the adductor brevis, and also the longissimus. Once you've done all of those strengthening exercises, a terrific complement to those exercises would be to do some myofascial stretching exercises for the muscles that are responsible for retroversion of the pelvis or posteriorly tilting the pelvis. We ended up doing those a couple days ago, and I can include a link right up over here to the top 5 myofascial stretching exercises for posture correction to correct the posterior pelvic tilt. But we ended up doing the myofascial stretching exercises for the hamstrings, the gluteus minimus, the gluteus medius, the posterior fibers, and also the adductor magnus and rectus abdominis. Once you've done the strengthening and stretching exercises, if you find that you're still not seeing the benefits that you would like to see, and you find that progress is a little bit slow, a third problem that may arise is that the nerves that send the signal to the muscles that are responsible for anteversion of the pelvis, they may not be sending the proper signal to the muscle, and if that occurs, then those muscles are not going to be able to activate properly, and if they don't activate properly, you're not going to get proper blood flow and oxygen to that area, which can lead to a lot of pain. So one of the ways in which we could address that would be to do the ELDOA exercises, which we're going to be doing today. The reason the ELDOAs is so great is because when you perform an ELDOA, the whole purpose of an ELDOA is to create space within a joint. So if we improve the function of the nerves by creating space within the joint, then the nerves are going to be able to send the proper signal to the muscle. And the nerves that we're going to be focusing on, we want to focus on the nerves that innervate the muscles that are responsible for anteversion of the pelvis. That's going to be the psoas major, which is innervated by the lumbar plexus, specifically your L1, L2, and L3 nerve roots. Then it's also going to be your rectus femoris. That is going to be innervated by your femoral nerve, more specifically your L2, L3, and L4 nerve roots. Again, we're going to have the adductor longus. That's going to be innervated by the obturator nerve, or your L2, L3, and L4 nerve roots. And then lastly, we're going to be focusing on the adductor brevis. The adductor brevis is going to be innervated again by the obturator nerve. This one, more specifically, is going to be your L2 and L3 nerve roots. So without further ado, we're going to be doing the top 5 ELDOA exercises for posture correction to correct a posterior pelvic tilt. The first ELDOA exercise for posture correction to correct a posterior pelvic tilt is going to be the L3, L4 ELDOA. For it, we're going to be in a seated position. We want our feet together. We're going to flex our knees to 90 degrees. And then what we want to do from here is we're going to go into dorsiflexion of ankles by pointing the toes toward our head, eversion of ankles by pointing the soles of our feet away from each other. And then we want to drive our knees down toward the ground. For this one, we want our heels almost touching but not touching. So we want just enough space that you could put a piece of paper in between them. Then from there, retroversion of pelvis, flat lumbar spine, flat thoracic spine, chin tucked in, crown of the head up, eyes looking down at the floor to put the dura mater under tension with the arms, maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation of shoulders, then flex the shoulders to the level of coronal plane, so biceps in line with the ear. You're pressing up with the palms, up with the crown of the head, down with the knees, and this is the ELDOA exercise, the L3, L4 ELDOA. Next, the second ELDOA exercise for posture correction to correct a posterior pelvic tilt is going to be the L2, L3 ELDOA. For the L2, L3 ELDOA, we're going to go again in a seated position. We want straight knees. We're going to go ahead and abduct the femurs to 45 degrees. We want to go into maximum extension of knees, dorsiflexion of ankles, inversion of ankles, medial rotation of femurs by pointing the toes in toward the midline, retroversion of pelvis, flat lumbar, flat thoracic, chin tucked in, crown of head up, eyes looking down at the floor to put the dura mater under tension with the arms, maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation of shoulders, and then flex the shoulders to the level of coronal plane by bringing the arms up toward the biceps in line with the ears. Then we're pressing up with the palms, up with the crown of the head, and we're maintaining this for 1 minute. And this is the L2, L3 ELDOA. Next, The third ELDOA exercise for posture correction to correct a posterior pelvic tilt is going to be the L1, L2 ELDOA. For the L1, L2, it's going to be very similar to what we did. The only difference is instead of 45 degrees of abduction, we're going into 20 degrees of abduction. Then maximum extension of knees, dorsiflexion of ankle, inversion of ankle, medial rotation of femurs, flat lumbar, retroversion of pelvis, flat lumbar, flat thoracic, chin tucked in, crown and head up, eyes looking down to the floor to put the dura mater under tension with the arms, maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation of shoulders, flex the shoulders to the level of coronal plane, so biceps in line with the ear, and then bring them down into less abduction by bringing them to the level of the glenohumeral angle. If you don't know where that is, anywhere from 90 to 135 degrees, depending on your morphology. For the average person, when your arms are extended and the palms are at your level of your forehead or slightly higher, that's going to be the glenohumeral angle. But this is the L1, L2 ELDOA. Next, the fourth ELDOA exercise for posture correction to correct the posterior pelvic tilt is going to be the T8, T9 ELDOA. For the T8, T9, we're going to go ahead and flex our hips and knees as much as we can until our lumbar spine starts to round. As soon as our lumbar spine starts to round, we've gone too much. Then, from here, we want to create a laminar scap, so myofascial tension in the lower body. We're going to do that by raising the big toe, flattening the medial arch, lateral rotation of tibia, medial rotation of femur. Keep those knees nice and close together. Then, retroversion of pelvis, flat lumbar, flat thoracic, chin tucked in, crown and head up, eyes looking down at the floor to put the dura mater under tension with the arm, maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation of shoulders, then flex shoulders to the level of the coronal plane by bringing the biceps in line with the ear. You're going up with the palms, up with the crown of the head. Then this is the T8, T9 ELDOA. Next, the fifth and final ELDOA exercise for posture correction to correct the posterior pelvic tilt is going to be the T6, T7 ELDOA. For the T6, T7 ELDOA, again, we're in a seated position, and for this one, we're going to sit cross-legged. So we're going to go ahead and cross our legs. We want to go into dorsiflexion of ankles, eversion of ankles, and we're going to drive our knees down toward the ground. From this position, retroversion of pelvis, flat lumbar, flat thoracic, chin tucked in, crown and head up, eyes looking down at the floor to put the dura mater under tension with the arms. We're going to go into maximum extension of the elbows. We're going to bring the palms toward each other, and we want our fingertips touching. We want just light enough that they're touching, but we don't want to press into them. If you were to put a piece of paper between your fingertips, it should be easily able to slide up and down, so you don't want to create too much pressure. Then from here, chin tucked in, crown and head up, eyes looking down at the floor to put the dura mater under tension. We want to flex the shoulders to the level of the coronal plane, so biceps in line with the ear. And then we want to go into maximum extension of the elbows, so we're going to drive our fingertips up toward the sky as much as possible without letting the fingers create a lot of pressure. We're going up with the palms, up with the crown of the head, down with the knees, and this is the T6, T7 ELDOA. And there you have it. Those were the top 5 ELDOA exercises for posture correction to correct a posterior pelvic tilt. If you have a posteriorly tilted pelvis, or if you have issues with regard to low back pain, hip pain, knee pain, ankle pain, or foot pain, go ahead and give those exercises a try. And if you have given them a try, go ahead and drop your comments down in the comment section. Let me know what you guys thought. In terms of the actual program itself, what you would want to do is the strengthening exercises first. For the strengthening exercises, you want to do 3 sets of 50 repetitions, and that's 5-0, not 1-5. The reason we're going so high with the repetitions is because we're trying to elicit a postural change. Whenever we're trying to elicit a postural change, one of the most important things is going to be accumulating time under tension. And if we do the typical 8 to 12 bodybuilding repetition rep range, we're not going to be able to accumulate that time under tension. So 3 sets of 50 repetitions. Once you've done the strengthening exercises, then you're going to do the stretching exercises after. For the myofascial stretching exercises, what you want to do is 3 sets of 30-second holds on each side, and you want to do them every single day because once again, we're trying to elicit a postural change and we want to accumulate that time under tension. So if we only do them once a week or once a month, you're not going to see the true benefit. So you want to do 3 sets of 30 seconds every single day. And then once you've done your strengthening and you've done your stretching, then you're going to finish off with your ELDOA exercises. For the ELDOA exercises, you want to do 1 set of a 60-second hold for each of the ELDOA exercises. And that's going to be 60 seconds from the time you get into the final posture, not 60 seconds from the time that you set up. But now that you guys know the program, go ahead, implement it into your program. And if you've given it a try, go ahead and drop your comment section. Let me know how you guys are feeling and if you find that your pelvis is actually improving. But that's pretty much it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so I know to keep making these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as I will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.